Welcome to the excitement of NHL Tonight. Tony Luffman alongside Brian Boyle and Ken Danico. And you, like us, when the news broke about Kirill Kaprizov, Frank Saravelli on Twitter sending this out, the whole hockey world took notice. Sources say Minnesota Wild superstar Kirill Kaprizov's camp turned down an extension offer believed to be 8 years, $128 million in a meeting on Tuesday in Minnesota. That would have made him the highest paid player in NHL history in both AAV, $16 million, and total dollars. Immediately what came to mind, and Dano said this earlier in the week, Craig Leopold, what he said, the owner of the Minnesota Wild, this just days ago that he said this: I like to believe when Kirill comes over and gets a sense again for the excitement and the love of the city, I think we'll be moving forward in a good direction. This will be a huge deal, likely the biggest in the NHL ever. He went on, there's no better human being or better hockey player or better person than Kirill. I think it will be a good conversation that we'll have with him. I'm very anxious and looking forward to that conversation. I think we'll move quickly after that. Boiler, your immediate reaction was?
Chump change.
Not enough. Good one.
Not enough.
Wow.
I don't know what to say. I heard he had, I think our colleague Steve Conroy had mentioned he had heard a rumor he wanted 18 per. I think the most you can go up to next year is around 21 million as per the CBA. 20% of a team's salary cap can go to one player. Not anybody is, no one's even sniffed that really, but this is a player, and the owner's smart in saying this, he can bring people out of their seats every time he's on the ice. If he's on the road, people are going to go watch their home team, but they're going to want to see a glimpse of Kirill Kaprizov because of how electric of a hockey player he is. This is, you pay these players the money that they deserve, that they earn, because people are going to show up to watch. People are going to buy the merchandise, and he's going to help you win. Now, if you give him too much money, how do you allocate the rest to put together a competitive team? I don't think it matters. I think Leopold understands. That's how important this player is. He had the glowing remarks to say about him a few days ago, and then if this offer is in fact true, he put his money where his mouth was.
Did he ever, and I think one of the words in there, Tony, on his quotes were anxious. Well, he's probably a little more anxious right now. If it's true, and we're speculating, but that's what you hear. He turned that down. It's hard for me to understand or fathom turning that kind of money down. Money. Is it just about money? Is it about his future and where he sees it going and maybe in a different direction, different team? I don't know that. We're all guessing at this point. And he is an unbelievable player, one of the best in the league. And you mentioned it, Brian, brings fans out of his seats, and he's worth a lot. And I never begrudge a player from getting exactly what they're worth or even more. But something tells me it has to be more here than meets the eye, because $128 million, the richest deal in history. Do you really believe that he would want a little bit more, Brian?
Well, no, I actually
I'm not
don't.
saying, right. You said Steve Conroy. Or
well, yeah, that was the rumors he had heard. And again, these are all rumors that we have heard. Now, how do you get to be Kirill Kaprizov? How do you get to be a superstar in the NHL? I don't think you're driven by dollars. You're driven by getting better, being the best version of yourself as a player you can be, putting your name inside the history books, the record books, and winning. So maybe there's a question there on how this team's going to be constructed. Maybe it's just a matter of, I'm not ready to sign that right now. Maybe it's not necessarily I'm turning it down. I think Billy Guerin's done a really good job in Minnesota, especially with the injuries and the cap constraints that they have had. Kirill maybe wants to see how it's going to be built out around him for them to have success, not just next year or the year after, but for many years, for however many years he's signing his contract.
So when I think about this situation, I think about what hockey insiders say, which is that Kirill, his value in the offensive end of the rink to that team may be greater than any other player in the league in terms of what he can do, in terms of what he means. None of us are debating whether this guy is worth the moon and beyond that and Fort Knox and everything else. I guess my question for you, Dano, is if you're Billy Guerin and this is out there, and Billy Guerin's as bright a person as there is in the sport, when he was contacted about this, he had no comment. If you're Billy Guerin, what are you thinking?
I played with Billy Guerin, won a Stanley Cup with him, love him, one of my favorite teammates of all time. He's passionate, he's emotional, but he will take a step back and take a deep breath because he's going to have to, because he's probably a little flabbergasted, to say the least, that his side collectively, and it's usually a lot of people involved, including the agent, family, that turned this down. But, Brian, I like your points. I think there could be more to it, and he's seeing how it's going to play out. Maybe he needs more discussion with Billy Guerin and the owner of where the team's going to be. I believe the Minnesota Wild, after getting out of cap hell with some of their contracts, and we know who they were when they
Breezy and Suter, the buyouts.
Breezy and Suter, the buyouts. They're going to be as competitive and as good as any team in the National Hockey League, and legitimately is going to have a chance to win, be a contender and have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. Yeah, they got some work to do along the way, but listening to their owner, knowing Billy Guerin, they'll stop at nothing to make sure they get the right ingredients to be that contender, to be a champion. So if that's part of Kirill Kaprizov's thinking, I think the Wild have a great opportunity as anybody. This league is so competitively balanced. Outside of the Florida Panthers, who kind of reign supreme right now,
right?
And everybody's trying to catch them. Yeah. There's a lot of teams that have a chance. I put the Minnesota Wild in there, even though they have not had a lot of playoff success as of late, but there has been circumstances. I think sky's the limit for the Wild now that they have some vision, some relief, and some money, and the cap going up, and Billy Guerin running the organization. I think they're going to be in good hands.